What if I told you there were 1 ton of plastic for every 3 tons of fin fish in the ocean? Well, that could be the reality by 2025 if we don't change how we manage and discard our plastics. And so today I'd like to share with you about the Northern Pacific Subtropical Gyre, where much of our plastic accumulates in the ocean. The Northern Pacific Subtropical Gyre is also known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's located between the United States and Japan, and it's made up by a eastern and western patch. The western patch is found just off the coast of California between Hawaii and California, and the eastern patch is found off of the coast of Japan. The Northern Pacific Gyre is just one of 5 main gyres within the world, as you can see on this map. Gyres are essentially a vortex within the ocean. They're created by a system of ocean currents, which occur due to the global wind patterns from Earth's rotation. These currents draw in plastic debris, and once the plastic enters the stationary center of a gyre, it becomes trapped, and then over time it breaks down. This results in a large, dense mixture of small plastic fragments. 5.25 trillion tons. That's the current estimate of plastic within our oceans. And 35% of that is thought to be in the Northern Pacific Gyre alone, according to a study conducted by a research team, CPLEX. So where is the plastic in the oceans coming from? Well, 80% of it is due to land-based sources, either coastal litter and stormwater discharge, and 20% of it is due to sea-based sources, such as fishing gear, lost cargo, or jettisoned trash. As we've learned, harmful chemicals are found within plastic. When they're produced, many times they contain BPA or bisphenol A and phthalates, both of those which are endocrine disruptors. Plastic also has a high absorption rate, which means the plastic floating in the ocean will absorb these chemicals found within the water around it, and oftentimes this is usually DDT and PCBs, which are both carcinogenic, resulting in nervous system damage, infertility, and liver damage. These chemicals released into the oceans gather on plastics and infect the marine life which ingest it, contributing to the alteration of hormones in marine species and within humans. In other words, these plastics which are in our oceans are even more harmful than when they were first produced, and they are having devastating effects. But first, let's take a look at what happens to plastic when it enters our oceans. Most of the plastic found within gyres are microplastics. As I mentioned before, plastic breaks down over time due to sunlight, and this alteration process is called photodegradation. As you can see in the image with the penny, these are an example of microplastics. Within the gyres, they're usually about 0.5 millimeters, and microplastics are what make up the majority of the gyres. Oftentimes they're floating just beneath the surface of the water, and microplastics can be even more detrimental to marine species, but we'll see why later. First, let's take a look and see what harmful effects plastic is having on our Plastic pollution is harming our marine species, altering marine ecosystems, and poisoning the food web which we depend on. Entanglement is a huge issue for marine mammals. More than 100,000 marine mammals die annually due to plastic debris, many times due to entanglement. Endangered marine species are at an even higher risk. Take, for example, this Hawaiian monk seal, which is entangled in ghost fish nets left behind by fishing vessels, as well as the sea turtle, which is also experiencing the effects of entanglement. Ingestion is yet again another issue. This occurs when plastic is confused for food. Some examples can be sea turtles confusing plastic bags for jellyfish, or fish confusing phytoplankton for food. Usually the injury or death occurs because of starvation due to blockage, and they're unable to feel when they are hungry or full. Other times it happens due to perforation from sharp plastic materials. As you can see, this seabird took in a lot of plastic and it resulted in death. And these are some microplastics taken in by a fish. So not only is plastic altering and affecting our marine species, but it's also affecting our ecosystems and damaging them. Many times coral reefs are damaged due to the interruption of the photosynthesis process due to plastic bags, which will cover the coral reefs. Other times, plastic, which doesn't float on the surface of the water, will sink to the bottom of the water and layer upon the seabed. And what happens is, as this plastic layers up on the seabed, it alters the communities that live there. And it also interrupts the gas exchange from the sediment to the waters above. Another issue that plastic contributes to is offering alternative habitats, and what happens is these species will live on the plastic, and the plastic will move and travel into a new community, and then these species, which are unlikely to be found in other communities, will travel to those communities and become invasive species to those communities. And last but not least, plastic is entering our food web, and the harmful chemicals that are within them are building up over time, and the worst effects are happening to us. So it is definitely a problem, but we do have some solutions. Let's see what we can do. So the Ocean Cleanup is an organization which is run by Boyan Slat, which is a young man who at 16 years old was diving and became passionate about cleaning up the oceans due to the amount of plastic that he saw within the oceans. The Ocean Cleanup is currently quantifying plastic pollution to make their deployment most successful, and right now they're on a pilot deployment testing on the shores of Japan in Tsushima, but their full deployment is in 2020. There are some other organizations that are involved in shore cleanup, like SaveOurShores.org, Environmental Cleanup Coalition, and the Ocean Conservancy. But let's take a look at Boyan Slat's technology to remove the plastic debris on the surface of our Northern Pacific Gyre.
The Ocean Array platform is designed to collect plastic trash that currently floats on or near the water's surface. The 1-mile-wide array features 2 large booms on either side, which use ocean currents to direct the plastic towards a central receptacle. The trash is then filtered into a large trash receptor on the back of the floating platform for recycling. With solar panels and water-generated turbines below the ocean's surface, the platform is completely self-sustaining.
So we can make a difference too. We can volunteer for some of these organizations that I mentioned. You can go online and find out some information if you're interested. We can spread awareness to our friends and family, and we can reduce, reuse, and recycle. As we reduce our plastic consumption, we will reduce our impact on the ocean and reduce the amount of plastic which we find in our Northern Pacific Gyre. Thank you.